Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is June the 18th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good mentally, emotionally, dare I say, even spiritually. But physically, maybe not so great. Maybe not so great. We'll get into it. But overall, good day. Um, I woke up with just the recurring nagging back pain that I've kind of been dealing with throughout the week. This is definitely the worst it's been so far. And, just tried to get through work. And I got through that more or less okay. But, definitely, had to sit down and a little bit more than I would have liked. Kind of hiding out in my little, cardboard buggies. But we got through that. The real test, the hardest test, was the gym itself. We were able to get through the gym, and overall everything was fine. I will say I did like a deadlift set, and that's when it really like peaked. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I should not. I probably shouldn't be here, but whatever. But we got through, and it was all good for the most part. I'm just in a lot of pain. So, mea culpa in advance if that affects the podcast, if that affects, the length of this episode, maybe a little bit of the quality. But y'all are used to scuffed content out of me. I think that's kind of par of the course. It's part of the brand. It's a little baked in. But overall, really good day. Take that aside. My back getting blown out. But we there's a food corner. We got some more ice cream. You scream. We all scream for ice cream. This has kind of become a little bit of a running joke between some of my coworkers, because we're always like, okay, cool, we like ice cream. That's good. Okay, shaved ice. Some people, they dig that. Y'all know how I feel about the shaved ice. But where's our chicken tenders? Where's our grilled cheese sandwiches? Where's our food? And it seems that the powers that be have tightened the reins on the food. Like, our little treats. Like, now we just get treats. You're getting a bag of popcorn. You're getting some ice cream or some shaved ice, and you're going to fucking like it. And you better fucking wait, you fat ass, till the next big holiday, when we actually decide to cater. And you know what? It's like, oh, well, you should be more grateful. Free as you, right? Da da da. Yeah, sure. But like, this is once again the stuff that's supposed to keep us from forming a goddamn union, So like, where the fuck is my pizza party? Where the fuck is my free Jimmy John's? Like, I need that shit pronto. Anyway, whatever. Enough of my complaining about the food. The ice cream was fine. I got the chocolate vanilla swirl in a cup with a cone. So we love that. We love that vibe. Like I said, overall a good day. Just vibes from my back. And you know what? I've been talking to some people, and the natural reaction is like, wait, so your back hurts and you went to the gym? Like, what are you doing? Like, take a day off. Like, relax. And I'm just like, yeah, that's such a good idea. I'll definitely think about it. No, and damn well, I do not want to do that. Y'all know? I just don't want to slow down. I don't want to stop, y'all. But maybe, this is my body's way of telling me that that's exactly what I need to do, and that I do need to take a day to just kind of relax, at least from the gym, because y'all know I don't have the PTO anymore to really just call the whole day off as much as I'd like to. I already miss it. But I don't know. We'll definitely see what we're looking at come tomorrow. Really hope that my spine is doing fine come the morrow. Anyway, let's go ahead and do our startup, and let's go ahead and get into some news. Also, it doesn't help that I sit like a gremlin, like a hunchback when I record. I'm just leaning up against the Blue Yeti, trying to get my mouth all up on it, trying to get as close as possible. And I can literally feel it at my lower back every time I lean in like this. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how this goes. Also, a little bit of a callback to last week. It did rain big today. Overall, it hadn't rained too bad throughout the day. And then as I was at the gym, I was like closing out with my bike cardio or whatever. And oh, actually, no. This is before this. So I'm on the elliptical and I'm, doing my little running on the elliptical. And the next thing I know, power goes out. Everyone, also, I love this too, because like we're all a bunch of grown ass adults sweating it out in the gym, but it's a reminder that everyone is the same every time the lights go out. There's always someone who goes, "Whoa, oh my," and there's always like light little giggling, like, "Oh, I can't believe the power's out." Like, we are all the same children when the lights go out. I always think that's kind of funny. But the lights like flickered for a second, came back on. I'm like, thank fucking God. I'm not trying to. I also had to like quickly ask myself the question of like, what would you do, Isaiah? Would you try to keep working out in the dark like a fucking freak, or would you call it a day? And I think I would have tried to keep going until they told me to stop. I'm already in here with a bad back. So yeah, I look out when I'm doing my bike and I just see it's raining sideways. It's just all rain out there. It looks crazy. And I'm like, I don't want to be out in that. Now, luckily, I got out and it was just steady rain, and now it's done. But it was gross there for a second. So yeah, my coworker was right. There was a hell of a storm. It has been some rain all week. And I'm a stupid dumbass for not knowing that. Wow. All right. To the business. From NBC News. Supreme Court upholds Tennessee ban on transgender youth medical care. The Supreme Court on Wednesday upheld a Tennessee law restricting gender transition care for minors, delivering a major blow to transgender rights. The 6-3 ruling is likely to have a broad impact, as 24 other states have already enacted laws similar to the one in Tennessee, which bars gender transition surgery, puberty blockers, and hormone therapy for youth. Those laws now look set to survive similar legal challenges. The ruling does not affect states that do not have such bans, meaning care in those states will still be available. The court was divided on ideological lines, with the 6 conservatives in the majority and the 3 liberals in dissent. Writing for the majority, Chief Justice John Roberts concluded that the Tennessee law does not constitute a form of sex discrimination that would violate the Constitution's 14th Amendment. This case carries with it the weight of fierce scientific and policy debates about the safety, efficacy, and propriety of medical treatments in an evolving field, Roberts wrote. The voices in these debates raise sincere concerns. The implications for all are profound. The Equal Protection Clause does not resolve these disagreements, he added. Liberal Justice Sonia Sotomayor wrote in a dissenting opinion that, contrary to the majority's conclusion, the law does discriminate based on both sex and transgender status and should therefore be analyzed closely. By retreating from meaningful judicial review exactly where it matters most, the court abandons transgender children and their families to political whims, she wrote. In sadness, I dissent. Sotomayor also took the relatively unusual step of reading a summary of her decision from the bench in court, saying the impact of the decision is incredibly dangerous. Now, there's more here, but, we've talked about this before, and typically with the rulings, I don't like to, dwell or sit on them too long. But, obviously I'm with Sotomayor in terms of, her dissent. I find this to be a setback, and it's unfortunate. I wouldn't say it's shocking, given the layout of the court, but, I think that this is only going to be continuing to have, rippling effects, but also it's not like it's over, just like when we're talking about any of these big abortion cases. They will always, there's always going to be a new battleground to fight over on said issue. So, I'm sure we will be back here again and, back in the Supreme Court talking about, more stuff on this issue in the future. But yeah, I would definitely say this is a setback. It's definitely unfortunate, though. I will say that it is at least good that in the areas where you're allowed to have this care, that you can at least continue to get it and have it. But yeah, a blow none the same. or upload all the same. We have another Supreme Court ruling that I wanted to get into. Now, this one isn't an update because I just plain missed it. Sometimes I do miss, cases, but it's cool that we were at least able to catch the ruling on this one. From the Associated Press, Supreme Court clears the way for temporary nuclear waste storage in Texas and New Mexico. The Supreme Court on Wednesday restarted plans to temporarily store nuclear waste at sites in rural Texas and New Mexico, even as the nation is at an impasse over a permanent solution. The justices, in a 6-3 vote, reversed a federal appeals court ruling that invalidated the license granted by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission to a private company for the facility in Southwest Texas. The outcome should also reinvigorate plans for a similar facility in New Mexico, roughly 40 miles or 65 kilometers away. Now, maybe you might have noticed a little inflection in my voice when I said 6-3 this time. That's because this didn't go the way that I expected in terms of who went where here. I actually kind of want to fast forward a bit. Here we go. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote in a dissent that the NRC's decision was unlawful because spent nuclear fuel can be temporarily stored in only 2 places under federal law, at a nuclear reactor or at a federally owned facility. Justices Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas signed on the dissenting opinion. And I gotta say, y'all, just from what I've gathered, and y'all know, I don't have all the information here. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip a little bit here because, I was like, oh shit, what is this story? What's going on here? I think I do agree with the dissenting opinion on this. I think I find myself in cahoots with Gorsuch, Alito, and Clarence on this one. I don't know, don't get me wrong. It kind of reminds me of the Fukushima situation in Japan with their nuclear waste. It's a whole fucking thing. But they were at an impasse in terms of where to store it. So they're like, we have to put it on another facility. We have to put it in a situation where yes, it's going to be potentially, exposed to the public, but I think they were talking about more or less filtering the water. Yeah, and getting that. I'm vaguely pulling the story from the past. Anyway, essentially people were like, what are you doing? No, you can't do that. We're fishermen. This is going to be in our water. It's going to affect our fish. It's going to affect our business. No, potentially you're killing us with this kind of stuff. And they're like, no, this is safe. It's fine. Our nuclear storage or nuclear waste facility or whatever with the water, we just can't store any more of it. So we have to get it back out there. We filtered it. We promise you it's going to be so good. It's going to be so fine. So this kind of had a similar vibe to me where it's wait, we don't have any place to really put this shit. So we need to source this to a private company. And then this private company is going to put it in New Mexico and Texas. So I'm thinking for the people who live there, do you want this nuclear waste near you? Probably fucking not. You're probably opposed to something like this. But essentially the powers that be, at least from the Supreme Court at this point are saying, no, it's okay. As long as, they go about it with the proper ways, proper procedures, and they get all their licenses and stuff, that's okay. We're good. We're okay with that for the time being. Which, I don't know. That doesn't seem good to me. It doesn't seem great. But I also kind of go, understand that's why I try to poorly reference the Fukushima situation is because, we do live in a capitalist society. We are in a situation where it's we just sometimes don't have all of the means and we don't have all the best solutions. So you're going to do the best quick fix you can do. And you're going to run it, sometimes, like I said, it's putting your, quote unquote filtered, clean, it's all good now water, back into the supply or whatever. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's having this site that you're saying, hey, we're gonna safely store it. It's a temporary situation, but it's yeah, we got to do this, even though maybe you don't like it. Maybe it's a little scary, Maybe there could be a problem, I don't know. And I think it's also fair to be mistrusting of your government, because they've given you a lot of reason to. I don't know, at least in my opinion. Anyway, let me read some more. I know I skipped Brett Kavanaugh. I think he wrote the concurring opinion, I guess you say majority opinion. Excuse me. Roughly 100,000 tons or 90,000 metric tons of spent fuel, some of it dating from the 1980s, is piling up at current and former nuclear plant sites nationwide and growing by more than 2,000 tons or 1,800 metric tons a year. The waste was meant to be kept there temporarily before being deposited deep underground. So that's where it's supposed to go. The NRC has said that the temporary storage sites are needed because existing nuclear plants are running out of room. The presence of spent fuel also complicates plans to decommission some plants. The Justice Department said in court papers. Plans for a permanent underground storage facility in Yucca Mountain. I love saying Yucca, such a fun word. Northwest of Las Vegas are stalled because of staunch opposition from most Nevada residents and officials. So you see what I'm saying? So it's like this place is saying, hey, no, we're fighting this shit. But then it's like on the other end, you're like, well, we'll fine. We'll have to put it somewhere. We're going to put it over in Texas and New Mexico. The NRC appeal was filed by the Biden administration and maintained by the Trump administration. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, a Republican, and New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, a Democrat, are leading bipartisan opposition to the facilities in their states. So, I mean, I get it. Everyone's kind of trying to play hot potato with this shit, but apparently the Supreme Court's kind of like, look, someone's got to take the bag. Someone's getting it, okay? Someone's getting radio. No, I don't want to take that. Let me not make that joke. Anyway, so I found this story to be interesting, and also just because, you know, talking about what to do about the nuclear waste, and then also how this shook out. You know, once again, it's a majority, it's a 6-3 ruling, but not by the usual majority. So I thought that was kind of like, oh, I feel like I haven't really seen something like that, maybe, since this new, you know, Ketanji Brown Jackson has gotten in. I don't know if I've seen it kind of lay it out like this. Maybe not. Maybe we haven't. I'm just fuzzy on that. But anyway, let's move on to another story. Sadly, I mean, this is an overall, in my opinion, a sad story unfolded that we're coming back to. But it is an update, and in some ways you could say it's a bit of a silver lining in some ways. But anyway, we will get into it. We will talk about it. From the Associated Press, baby delivered from brain dead woman on life support in Georgia. The baby of a woman in Georgia who is declared brain dead and has been on life support since February was delivered early Friday morning, her mother said. April Newkirk told WXIA-TV that 31-year-old Adriana Smith's baby was born prematurely by an emergency cesarean section early Friday. The Atlanta station reported Monday night. She was about 6 months into her pregnancy. The baby, named Chance, weighs about 1 pound and 13 ounces and is in the neonatal intensive care unit. He's expected to be okay, Newkirk told the TV station. He's just fighting. We want prayers for him. Newkirk said her daughter had intense headaches more than 4 months ago and went to Atlanta's Northside Hospital, where she received medication and was released. The next morning, her boyfriend woke to her gasping for air and called 911. Emory Hospital determined she had blood clots in her brain and she was declared brain dead. She was 8 months pregnant. Now, Newkirk said Smith would be taken off life support Tuesday. So at least there can finally be peace for Smith in this situation. It's crazy that we are living in times where, because of the laws that are set up, they're saying, hey, you have to take this baby to term. There's nothing that can be done about it. As a hospital, we cannot take her off life support because we would potentially compromising the baby's life. We would be ending the baby's life. And it's like, that baby is not alive yet. So, like, that should not, in my opinion, be considered at all. Like, that is a little thing of cells, a little bundle of whatever the fucks. At the end of the day, it should be what the family wants. And I'm not saying this to put that on the family in terms of that's what they were saying. It's just, it's crazy that you are forced to bear this burden, not just emotionally, but also fiscally, because the law's at play. And at the end of the day, you've already lost this person. You've already lost this person in your life. So Adriana Smith is already brain dead. But essentially, we cannot take her off of life support because of the laws at play. Let me fast forward a bit. Oh, I went too far. Fast forwarded too much. See if I can find the section here. Oh, here we go. Georgia Republican Attorney General Chris Carr later issued a statement saying the law did not require medical professionals to keep a woman declared brain dead on life support. Removing life support is not an action with purpose to terminate a pregnancy, Carr said. And I think it's easy to say that kind of shit after the fact, but like, let's say the hospital did take her off life support, they could have potentially been like, up for litigation, for a lawsuit or anything like that. They'd have to potentially fight that in court. It could be a whole fucking thing where it's like, look, the law is saying X, so we're going to quote unquote do X. Now, I think that that's morally fucked. But I think it's also fucked that a guy like this Republican Attorney General, who probably bumped for this policy to be a fucking thing in the first place, is now being like, yeah, no, they didn't have to do that. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. They're being crazy. When it's like, no, like it is motherfuckers from this kind of group that are saying, no, you have to have this baby. You have to. That's just the way God intended. So yeah, I mean, it's a very sad, it's a very frustrating situation. But I'm rooting for the baby. That's the silver lining here. You can say, another life and all that. Though you could also say born, never asked. That's a whole other fucking thing. That I don't know. We're not that kind of podcast really to go into all that stuff. Anyway, I've one more story to cover. And this is an update from way back, really. We haven't talked about the Karen Reed trial since the the mistrial or whatever the fuck. So, goddamn, we're so back. True crime back on the menu. Did it ever leave? True crime now. True crime forever. Anyway, let's go ahead and take our last break, and we'll close it out. Oop, that was a burp. Oh, I did. I think there's a little bit more in there too. Ooh. Reaching for that can hurt. Owie. Okay. Whew. Once again from the Associated Press. That's a hat trick. Karen Reed found not guilty of second-degree murder. Guilty of drunken driving in boyfriend's death. A jury found Karen Reed not guilty of second-degree murder and manslaughter charges Wednesday in the 2022 death of her Boston police officer boyfriend, a case that attracted legions of true crime followers who erupted in cheers when word of the acquittal spread outside court. The same jury also found her guilty of a lesser charge of drunken driving after deliberating for at least 22 hours since June 13th. Cheers from the crowd outside could be heard in the courtroom as the verdict was read. With gleeful supporters, Reed departed the courthouse with her attorneys and family. It was a huge victory for Reed's lawyers, who have long asserted that she was framed by police after dropping John O'Keefe off at a party at a home of a fellow officer. Prosecutors argued that the 45-year-old Reed hit O'Keefe, 46, with her SUV before driving away, but the defense maintained that he was killed inside the home and later dragged outside. No one fought harder for justice for John O'Keefe than I have, Reed said. Members of O'Keefe's family left the courtroom with bowed heads. Prosecutors did not speak to reporters outside. The verdict came nearly a year after a separate jury deadlocked over Reed's involvement in the January 2022 death of John O'Keefe and resulted in mistrial. Excuse me. Reed faced charges of second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene outside Boston. A second-degree murder conviction would have carried a life sentence. She will face a year of probation for the drunken driving conviction. Reed's father, Bill Reed, told reporters outside the courthouse that he felt relief and gave tremendous thanks to God when the verdict was read. I'm saying read and read a lot on this article. We need to get our life back together, and we will, he said. Asked why he thought the second trial's outcome was different, he said, another year of information circulating in the public, and people are aware of what's happened. Um, I think also there was like a thing that's brought up, I think by either someone in the defense or whatever, but essentially saying like Reed had a big advantage coming out of the mistrial because she was not in jail. She was not like remanded in jail or anything. So she was able to coordinate more with her team, her legal team, and also give interviews. Also just be out and about. And her story, kind of like was said earlier, just made more rounds. So you have a lot more people latching on to it. There's a lot more public opinion going into it, which makes it like an unavoidable thing. More or less people are coming in with this more concrete set of opinions. Whether or not they're saying that on the, the voir dire or whatever the fuck, it's neither here nor there. That I think is something that is a real point here that makes a difference in this trial as opposed to the one previously. Let's see. Several witnesses in the case said in a statement Wednesday that their hearts are with John and the entire O'Keefe family. Those who signed the statement included Jennifer McCabe, who was with Reed and O'Keefe the night of his death, and Brian Albert, who owned the home where the party took place. While we may have more to say in the future, today we mourn with John's family and lament the cruel reality that this prosecution was infected by lies and conspiracy theories spread by Karen Reed, her defense team, and some in the media. The result is a devastating miscarriage of justice. So the girlies are happy. I'm going to get into a little bit of paraphrasing here, but the girlies are happy. They had the confetti. They had the streamers. They brought the little doggies out. They had the free Karens just waving for her. They were throwing up the heart, sign or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? Not the heart emoji, but like in sign language or whatever. And I even saw a thing, on one of my friends', stories. And, they mentioned the trial. And of course, like in the follow-up, they're like, yeah, and I'm actually very happy that, she was acquitted. And it's like, I mean, okay, cool. That's A-okay. Also, because, I mean, hey, I get it, ACAB. Fucking, like, at the end of the day, a cop is dead. And I don't think anyone's, like, shedding a lot of tears outside of the family. I'm going to keep it a stack. I mean, that's just the reality of it, y'all. I'm sorry. But, I think, and I'm pretty sure if I search my mind, I go back in the past, I probably said something to this effect that I kind of feel like this is white woman OJ moment. Once again, maybe I'm being controversial. I don't know. I'm starting the pod with that statement. I don't know. But that's what it feels like. It just feels like that in my gut. I'm not saying that I think she did it. I'm just saying that given the two options that we have, where you have the one narrative that she is a scorned lover, she's, drunk, a little intoxicated, under the influence, whatever, has a moment, hits her boyfriend, goes away, whatever. There's that option, right? There's the other option of this is a police conspiracy to get this guy, this dude, and, O'Keefe, and we're gonna fuck him up, we're gonna beat him up. There's also evidence that he was, like, assaulted, and, like, there was, like, a dog bite. So, I mean, okay, maybe there's some evidence to this effect that there was something more here, that he was dragged out, and Karen Reed is just a patsy for this conspiracy. She's just this fall guy or the fall woman, okay? And that's a narrative, right? And don't get me wrong. Are you saying, Isaiah, you don't believe that the police can do a conspiracy? Of course I believe they can. I've covered it multiple times on this goddamn podcast, of police doing goddamn conspiracies on the people. So it's not outside the realm of reason and thought. Got it, for sure. But also, I kind of want to buy the Occam's razor bullshit or whatever, like the least common or the least like, or the most likely is most the what? Fuck, I can't even say it anymore at the end of the episode. Fuck, but like whatever's the most common likely thing is probably it, right? Like you could go over the river and through the woods, but that's probably not the op. Like that's probably not what it really is. I don't know. So. How do I feel? Where do I land on this? I mean, she was acquitted. Should be the case. I don't really know. Because if you want me to say it, I think she kind of skates away here. I think she kind of just got away with it. But hey, let her have her moment. Let her do her thing. I don't know enough to say, obviously, with a certainty that I know she did it. But at the same time, I'm curious what, what the peanut gallery, the witnesses, have to say. But granted, I mean, according to Karen Reed in her defense, well, they're a part of the conspiracy, right? They're just a part of the cover up that killed my boyfriend that I loved. I don't know, but we'll see. I mean, this true crime win, true crime now. So I wanted to close out with it. My Occam's razor bit that fell flat. Womp womp, womp, womp. Whatever, that happens. Sometimes you fuck up. But overall, maybe yapping has helped my. I was gonna say yapping has helped my back. Like I didn't just like struggle to reach for the Milwaukees. But no. On that note, that's gonna be the episode. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/Isaiah News. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up. IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Oh man, I'm so burpy. Subscribe to the YouTube. That's free. Action helps out a lot. I never say what the YouTube is, but if you just Google Isaiah's Newsstand YouTube, you'll find it. Also at Isaiah News. You can just do that. The Tiki-Taki, find that if you want. I only post the episode on TikTok. I only post the podcast at this point. I do some reposts sometimes, if I'm feeling frisky and I'm actually on there. Thing is, when you get on TikTok, well, if you're just a fucking millennial boomer like me, you get on TikTok and you just black out for like 30 minutes to an hour. And you're like, what did I just watch? And you just watched everything and you reposted a few things. So yeah, I do some of that. And I should check my messages. I don't, unless we're really good friends, or maybe I'm just lazy and we are good friends. Anyway, follow on Apple Podcasts, follow on Spotify, any of the platforms. You can just keep up with me. I might not answer my inbox messages there, but you can find me. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I'll see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.